let's all stand and sing God of Grace and to God be, O thou great Jehovah. God be, O thou great Jehovah, pilgrim through this barren land. I am weak, but thou art mighty. Hold me with thy powerful hand. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Feed me till I want no more. Open now the crystal fountain, whence the healing stream doth flow. Let the clear and cloudy pillar lead me on my journey through. Strong deliverer, lead us to my strength and shield. Lead us to my strength and shield. When I tread the verge of Jordan, let my anxious fears subside. Death of death and hell's destruction, let me safe on Canaan's side. Songs of praises, I will ever give to thee. I will ever give to thee.
Please be seated. This morning I wanted to welcome you, and for those who don't know me yet, I am Rebecca Grogan, and I'm very glad to have you here. Hi to all those out there. If you are watching online, please say hi so we know that you're there, and you can leave prayer requests if you would like. Now, I would like to start with the opening prayer. God beckons us to come with arms opened for love. We thank you, O God, for love that receives us. Christ welcomes us as sisters and brothers at a table set with grace. We thank you, O Christ, for grace that provides a place for us. Spirit fills us and sends us in service of one who calls. Lead us, O Spirit, in our worship and into our living. Amen.
Please stand and join me for the call to prayer. Give thanks to God. We thank
God for
joy,
laughter
for
and abundant
for abundant blessings
of every kind.
Give thanks to God at all times and for everything.
We thank God when we can and as we can, for struggles, for solitude, for fears.
Give thanks to God at all times and for everything, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
We thank God that in Christ our joys as well as our pain, our losses as well as our laughter, are in God's heart and hands. Please be seated. As we open for our pastoral prayer this morning and the Lord's Prayer, we have a lot of people on the prayer list, some of whom are not on the back of the bulletin because we received them later. So please pay attention to those who have asked for your prayers, not for just today, but for every day. Let us pray. Jesus, just when we think we know you, we understand you, that we are close to you, you surprise us. You shock us and reveal something about yourself and your way so that we are sometimes confused. When we get close to you and the more we know about you, sometimes it seems as if there is an even greater distance between us. Our ways are not your ways. Yet in you is life, abundant life. Open us up to the grandness of your ways and your mystery. Give us the courage to walk with you. even in those times when we don't know where you are leading us. Help us to take you in all your mystery, in all your wonder, and as you are, rather than as we would have you be. You have the words of life. Where would we go if we turned from you? We pray for your presence and hope in the lives of Diane, Karen, Sue, Eagleheart, Charles and Enid, and for Gary and Marcia Johnson and family. We pray for Julie, Donnie Cagle, Norma Putnam, Kit Moravec, Bill Stone and Lisa, and we pray especially for the people of Haiti who have had another earthquake and another devastation of their economy. Lives have been lost, so our hearts go out to them as they mourn and search. We pray for those in Afghanistan, dealing with what has happened there and all of the violence. We pray for their safety. We pray for their peace. We pray all these things, and we pray the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Let's sing Great is Thy Faithfulness. And today, why don't y'all stay seated for this? Just sit up straight and sing out. Great is thy faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Summer and winter, springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above. Join us all, nature, in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon for sin and the peace that endureth, thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow, blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.
You know, the worst thing about wearing a mask is taking a mask off and not having any lipstick on.
Oh, no.
I feel naked. All right. Today's reading is from Ephesians 5. So we're almost done. And this one is a little bit short, and it has a lot to say about what we need to be great followers of Christ. Listen for the word of the Lord. Be careful then how you live, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of time because the days are evil. So do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Do not get drunk with wine, for that is debauchery, but be filled with the Spirit as you sing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs among yourselves, singing and making melody to the Lord in your hearts, giving thanks to God for the Father at all times, and for everything in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. This is the word of the Lord. All right, so it kind of sounds like I'm talking in November already because we are talking about Thanksgiving. But really, Thanksgiving isn't confined to a certain season. We don't have just a one time. And I've noticed lately, I suppose it's the times we live in, that there have been lots of memes on Instagram and Facebook that talk about how we should be thankful that we woke up this morning. And I can agree with that. But, it's sort of a really something that we don't think about doing right offhand, I don't think, is to wake up and say, thank you, God. But I had seen so many memes, I decided I would start doing that. And I found out that once I say that, I would find out that I was grateful because I had a family and I have friends and I have a home and food, and especially because I have dogs. I was very happy for that. And I'm grateful for waiters and retail staff, because if you paid me $1 million, I still couldn't carry 2 plates out to a table without spilling them. And I know that I would knock as much stuff off a stock shelf as I would put on. So I'm very grateful for them. So I would like for everybody to participate in this, and we're just going to say what it is we're thankful for. And if you, while you're doing that, listen to what people say. And if somebody says something very curious, I want you to ask them. And so you guys are going to have to be ready with an answer of why you're thankful for that. But let's just say it. What are you thankful for? Oh, that wasn't all of you. That was 4 people. All right, let's try this again. What are you thankful for? Oh, that's much better. Thank you. All right, I didn't hear a single thing clearly, so I'm not going to ask anybody anything. But you realize that even on a bad day, you know that you are so much better off because of how you think about when you think about what it is that you have. And it's kind of like those pilgrims at Thanksgiving time that were starving, and the Native Americans taught them how to plant corn, and all of a sudden they were not starving anymore. They actually had days of thanks, but they were days of fasting, which was probably not too hard back then. The first Thanksgiving was probably in 1565 because Spanish settlers down in Florida had a feast with the Saloy tribe, and they celebrated with salted pork, garbanzo beans, and bread. These are really weird meals. They're all carbs. You notice that? But it was followed by a mass, a worship, so a Catholic worship. And then in 1619, some Virginia settlers and the Native Americans there had oysters and ham for Thanksgiving dinner. So we know that there are a lot of those out there, but the one that we usually think of, the one that the kids make the hats for at Thanksgiving, either the big tall pilgrim hats or the feathers, that's the one that we always say that's our first Thanksgiving. And it was at Plymouth and in Massachusetts, and there were 90 men from the Wampanoag tribe, and there were 50 surviving Mayflower settlers that had a feast. Now, only the men came of the Wampanoag tribe came because they brought 5 deer with them. So they had deer, waterfowl, and corn. So all of this means that we have always thought about having that feast, that to thank everything, which works really well because Methodists really do believe that eating is the best thing there is, because we have potlucks all the time. And if you want somebody to come to something, you say you're going to have food. They'll come. So we know that those feasts were something that were a big celebration. Now, when you think about all this and you think, well, is it only America? No, it's not only America. It's actually an ancient thing that went back all the way to the beginning of time, and it was one of those things where people thanked their gods for their harvest. So the one that is the closest to our way of having Thanksgiving is the Feast of Booths, or Sukkot, which is a Hebrew celebration of harvest. It also was 3 days. So, and is 3 days. They still have it. So giving thanks and celebrating and counting our blessings has always been something that humanity felt was necessary, that we thank our God with either fasting and feasting or both. But Paul's comments in this are a little bit more than that. They're a little bit different. I mean, we've got wine and we've got singing and we've got feasting, but there seems to be a little bit more purpose to it. So we have to think about what is happening. And the thing that he talks about most is that time is of the essence. Don't waste any time. And he wants us to understand that it's important for us to speak to people and witness to people about Christ. Now, the fact of the matter is, Paul thought that Jesus Christ would come back in his lifetime, that the second coming would be immediate. And so his idea was, we got to get as many people as possible. If we got a message from God that in 2 years God's going to come back, we get real busy real fast. But, we have always thought of it as something that's going to happen later. Now, this is an apocalyptic revelation that Paul's talking about, that Jesus is going to be here really, really soon. And we had this idea that revelation is something bad. Revelation just means that it's going to reveal something. And really, revelation in biblical terms is about God's divine purpose, not about destruction. So Paul wants us to be wise. He wants us to use our heads to accomplish the purpose of the will of God. And he doesn't want them getting drunk and doing unwise things. So that's why, he says that in there. He wants them to be focused. He wants them to understand that time is of the essence. We need to get this done. We need to get it done now. So he talks about being filled with the Spirit. Now, being filled with the Spirit has had some odd connotations over the years because, we think of people slain in the Spirit falling down on the ground. And we think of people dancing in the aisles and singing and sometimes speaking in tongues. And, that's what we think of when we think of you're filled with the Spirit. And that's the extreme sense. Being filled in the Spirit just means that you are so joyful. You are so happy. You can get up in the morning and be filled with the Spirit because you've got a good day ahead of you. I do that on Sundays because I like being here on Sundays. So I'm really excited. I don't have any trouble getting out of bed on Sunday. But Jesus wants us to sing melodies and he wants us to say prayers. And I love the fact that he says, even when you're making melody to the Lord in your hearts. So you're not even saying anything out loud. You're happy in your heart just because God loves you and you have a purpose. It doesn't mean a lot of frivolity, a lot of poo, It just means true and honest worship of God. That's all it means. So, when you start thinking about that in a true and honest worship, do I really know what that is? Do I know how to do that every day? Or do I just know how to do that on Sunday? It sounds like maybe there might be some learning that's involved in all of this. And the name for that is called spiritual formation. Now, it wasn't always called spiritual formation. That's the 21st century keyword right now. But spiritual formation is not something like you go to classes and you learn it and you're done. Spiritual formation lasts your entire lifetime. Your entire lifetime. You're never going to stop spiritually forming. And not only that, but spiritual formation is how you develop your character. So think about that. What is your character? That's an interesting question that needs some thinking about it. But when you talk about spiritual formation, there are lots of things you can do. You could go to classes. That's true. We're going to have a Bible study. We're probably going to have 2 start here early in September. We're going to have mission opportunities, which is, of course, spiritual formation. Every time we have someone give to the food bank, it's part of your building your character because you're putting someone else first. So it's kind of one of those ways in which we do things. When you care for friends who have a loss or are having a hard time, you're building your character. You're being formed by your spirituality. Now, that's one way we can do it. Another way we can do it is to read. Not only the Bible, but lots of other things. I am surprised sometimes at regular literature that has so much spirituality to it when you're looking for it, and how it informs you of the character of the people in the story. So that's one way to do it. And if you don't like reading, there's podcasts and there's videos, and you can watch these while you're doing something else. Yesterday I watched a webinar that I was looking at to see if it would be something that the church could look at, because it's about doing worship now in the 21st century. It's about how people perceive us, things like that. So it's kind of interesting stuff. And so I was watching that, and while I was watching that, I cleaned the kitchen, I washed the dishes, I cleaned the top of my stove, which hadn't been done in a long time. So you can actually do some of this stuff and get things done. You could stick earphones on and go out and mow the lawn and listen to a podcast. You know, there are lots of ways in which you can say, okay, I need to develop this a little bit more. I need to think about this a little more. How about I do this? But the one thing that you really, really need to know is that when you're doing all these things internally in your head, you also need to have a discussion. And that's why classes are so easy, because you get in there and you discuss about things. But talking to someone about what you read and what you felt and what you thought is a really important thing, because you could begin to develop how you make those things public. Because the last thing we have to do is witness. Now, the more you talk about it, the more you read about it, the more you hear about it, and the more you say, yeah, this is what I think. I can remember asking people questions, back a long time ago, and I just go in and I go, so what do you think this is? Like one time I said to someone, this was a person that worked in a church. Wasn't a clergy person, but it was a person who worked in a church. And I said, when do you think eternal life begins? And they said, well, when you die and you go to heaven. And I said, well, I don't think that. I think it begins when you believe. Come to find out, I was right. But it was just from reading. I just thought, what it says in the Bible, that doesn't start at the end of your life on earth. It begins at the beginning of your life on earth when you are speaking and being a follower of Christ. So our eternal life is already going on. You're already participating in it. And that's what Paul is talking about here. Go out there and tell those people about your eternal life. Tell them how you're doing that. Don't waste your time doing silly stuff. Do that. And, we think that witness means we got to go out and grab somebody by the arm and say, let me tell you about Jesus. And it's not. What it is the way you act. You know, you have heard this, I'm sure, that children learn by watching you. Yeah, everybody learns by watching. Everybody. That's my easiest way. If somebody says, I need to teach you how to do something, I'll say, you do it and I'll watch. That's the easiest way for me to learn. And it is the easiest way for us to witness. And it's true, because we're being our honest selves. So, number one thing, this is my number one thing for all Christians, you got to smile all the time. Don't be a grumpy face. It's rude. It's just rude. Smile. People will respond to your smile. I can guarantee it. But that is what Paul is talking about. He's talking about us forming our lives, building our character so that we are Christians, true and true. Everything we do is part of how God is using us to build this transformed world. So we need to remember all of that, and we need to remember that it's very, very, very important for us to witness to God's grace and love, because people don't know they have it out there. They don't know that they have it so good, that someone loves them. There are people out there that feel like nobody loves them. They're probably stuck at home. And that's why we need to witness to people that are stuck at home or people that are having a hard time. It's because God still loves them. There is goodness around the corner. You know, I don't know how many times I talk to people and they're angry about something that happened in their lives. And I'll say, it's good is going to happen. Good always wins. Oh, no, it doesn't. Yeah. Eternal life, God always wins. Remember, you have eternal life. It doesn't end when you die. It continues. You continue to be with God. You continue to have God's love. You continue to exist in some form that I have no idea, nor am I interested, because God said it's good. So, it's not the end. It's just continuing. So we have God's love all the time, and God's love always wins. It's just a matter of existing long enough to do it. And when we have eternal life, we got that taken care of. So we have to know that there are always things and just life itself to give thanks for all the time. And everything. Give thanks to everything in the name of Jesus. Amen. He's going to tell you to stand up, so you might as well.
If you are someone who is so inclined to follow along with the music of a song that you may not know, this is on page 522 on your hymn books, in your hymn books. If the world from you withhold of its silver and its gold, and you have to get along with meager fare, just remember in His word how He feeds the little bird. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. Leave it there, leave it there. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. If you trust and never doubt, He will surely bring you out. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. If your body suffers pain and your health you can't regain, and your soul is almost sinking in despair, Jesus knows the pain you feel. He can save and He can heal. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. Leave it there, leave it there. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. If you trust and never doubt, He will surely bring you out. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. When your enemies assail and your heart begins to fail, don't forget that God in heaven answers prayer. He will will make a way for you and will lead you safely through. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. Leave it there, leave it there. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. If you trust and never doubt, He will surely bring you out. Take your burden to the Lord and leave it there.
Please join me in the Apostles' Creed. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. The third day he rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven, and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen.
Pray. Eternal God, our time is in this life is limited, and our days are numbered. Yet you have reminded us that if we are wise and use that time well, you have an eternity waiting for us that is beyond our imagining. Help us to focus on what we have and what we can share, and how the gifts we offer this day can bless others until we are joined with them and your children, and give thanks for their thanks and the gratitude of the rest of eternity. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above, ye heavenly hosts. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
All right, we're going to do something a little different. Please be seated, because we got someone that's going to join the church, finally, because I remembered. Come on up here, Gary. He's officially joining. He's in the in crowd now.
Got my name tag.
Yeah. Actually, Cheryl makes a name tag for everybody. Okay, we have liturgy. And so I'm thinking that it goes after this, Gary. Will you be loyal to this United Methodist Church and uphold it and support it with your prayers, your presence, your gifts, your witness? I'm missing something. Your prayers, your presence, your gifts, your service, and your witness.
I will.
All right. Now, congregation. We give thanks for all that God has already given you, and we welcome you as members together with you in the body of Christ and in this congregation of the United Methodist Church. We renew our covenant to faithfully participate in the ministries of the church by our prayers, our presence, our gifts, our service, and our witness, that in everything God may be glorified through Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, he is. He's happy to be here. All right, now we will stand for our benediction.
Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your ways. And step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. Have a great week.